Welcome to At the Feed Store podcast with me, Erica Lantz, where we talk farm, feed, and everything in between. From industry insights to customer stories, we're here to serve up real conversations straight from the heart of rural America. Erica here with Feeders Grain and Farm Supply. Today I have Anthony Jones, CEO of Jones Twine and Netwrap. So as you can tell by the company that he is CEO of, we are going to talk all things baling and other supplies that they provide and education and information about those items. Thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Come on, Erica. Thank you very much. Honored to be here. Appreciate it. Feeders Grain has like a really soft spot in my heart. I know we touched about it before, but can I highlight where I love your company?
Yeah.
So I'm a fourth generation CEO. So I was so blessed to be able to grow up with an unbelievable grandfather that just saw the way that he navigated people and customers and even vendors with just this unbelievable ability to just make everyone feel important, take care of them and go over and above. But one of our longest standing customers is Feeders Grain. So I go all the way back. Even visiting your site was one of the very first places I visited growing up on a sales trip with my dad. So it's just very cool, full circle. I love what you're doing with the company, Erica, and very honored and blessed to be able to be here. And hopefully I can give some value.
Yes, it's wonderful being able to take over a company. I purchased the company almost 4 years ago from a gentleman that had it for over 60 years. So yep. I totally understand, living on that legacy of what was before you. And it's such an honor to be able to be a part of agriculture and be able to provide the farmers with the things that they do need. And I'm sure you understand that as well, growing up through the whole process.
100%.
Yeah. Hey, the one thing I wanted to start with is we're getting to be that time of season where hopefully we're going to grow some grass and start baling. That's what we're all hoping for with a little moisture in our lives. Yeah. And that being said, I wanted to talk, all things baling we'll start there. So when it comes to Netwrap itself, there's so many options out there for guys. And there's so many different suggestions. What kind of give us an overall, the current standard, what's going on in the industry when it comes to Netwrap itself?
I would love to. We were literally as a company that was there when Netwrap was just being rolled out in the United States. So we've literally been with the product of Netwrap from the very beginning. We've seen where there used to be a couple USA manufacturers. Israel has a company called Tama that has always been kind of the most popular. And then there's been some other European manufacturers, and now there's some Asian manufacturers. But just seeing this product evolve, seeing this product grow, seeing this product really even transform the entire hay baling industry. It's something that I got to grow up, be a part of and see all these new innovations and things coming out. So, man, where to even start? Let's go with it. I'm going to do the sad part of Netwrap. Can I do that?
Sure.
When I was growing up, there were 3 USA-made manufacturers. We had a great relationship with a couple of them, one of them specifically, and then had another great relationship with a company in Europe. And sadly, through the years, all 3 of those USA manufacturers have shut down their manufacturing facilities in the United States, and they have went back over to Europe. So that's definitely one of the bummer parts. I wish I could say this was a USA-made product. It unfortunately is not. But with that being said, we are very unique and rare in the Netwrap industry. A lot of the different manufacturers or maybe distributors that they buy from, they have one partnership with manufacturer X. We took a very different approach. Even going back to my dad and grandpa, we always had a USA manufacturer and then we had an imported product. And there were pros and cons to the different ones. The Netwrap was not the same. Some gave some extra benefits. So we've always taken the approach that not all Netwrap is equal. Now, first off, there is absolutely top of the line, top quality net wrap. There is also cheap price point stuff that should terrify anybody out there.
Yes.
So like, you still have to be careful. But with that being said, here's where we've been different. There's going to be somewhere between, in all reality, 7 to 8 large net wrap manufacturers from around the world. There's a few more that are up and coming. One of the things whenever I took over, where I was a little different than maybe my grandfather and my dad, I wanted to learn every single thing I could about the product. I mean, I wanted to see the manufacturing. I want to learn the difference. So that was the very first thing I did in my first year as CEO, which is my 10th year. So this was back 10 years ago. And I found all these manufacturers from around the world. And I literally was able to get on the phone with them, be like, hey, I'm 4th generation CEO for Jones Twine. Most of them actually heard of us. The U.S. is by far the largest hay baling market in the world. I mean, if you're in the net wrap manufacturing business, you want in the U.S. But we had a good reputation. People knew of who we were. So I got to fly all around the world, meet these owners, and go through their factories, learn the difference, what makes your net wrap different, what makes it special than the others. So where we've been unique is as we've continued to grow our company, finding awesome dealerships like you, being able to support them. But our mission was always to provide the highest quality products at the best aggressive price. And then we were going to bring the best service in the industry. But it was different because this net wrap performed differently for this type of crop compared to this one. So
for sure,
let me highlight some of those. Most famous net wrap in the world, not close, John Deere net wrap. Anyone surprised? No one's surprised.
No.
John Deere is amazing. But I'm going to call this, they are great at marketing. So hopefully Mother Deere doesn't get me in trouble with this statement. But John Deere net wrap, they have nothing to do with the manufacturing. They have a plastic sleeve with picture Marine Deere on it, which is amazing how that just causes the price to be the most expensive one in the market. With that being said, it comes from a great, amazing manufacturing company out of Israel, but they have other products. We are one of their largest suppliers in the United States as well. So it comes under a different label, but we have access to these. Now, these Tama products, what makes them a little more unique? Well, they're lighter weight. Well, you know what? I'm going to explain net wrap this way.
Okay.
There's kind of 2 simplified ways to have strength in net wrap. One of them is just think of a rubber band. So it is going to be held together with the materials, but its strength comes in the elasticity.
Sure.
So if you ever have a net wrap that is lighter, especially if it comes from a good manufacturer, then what it's going to do is it's going to have a resin formula that allows that net wrap to expand. Now, there are some different types of crops or hay bales. You need that. Wheat straw is the worst at expanding. You leave that out in the field, it gets wet, that bale is absolutely expanding. So a net wrap that has great expansion capacity is going to handle some of those. But what are some of the maybe potential problems with that type of net wrap? Well, if it's elastic, it can go back, spring in, get caught in your baler and wrap around those rollers. There's a lot of people with a certain brand of net wrap that has that problem happen a lot. Yes. So there are kind of 2 more tiers. We have found an amazing net wrap manufacturer out of Portugal we've absolutely had like almost virtually no issues with their net wrap ever. It is heavier, so you get some of those strength. It has elasticity, but a little less than the Tama product, a little less than some of those. That's been a huge home run product called Agrite net wrap for us in the market. You do get a little thicker, but it's a little less on the expansion. Now, there's another product, and I know you guys have had a tremendous amount of luck. We've had a tremendous amount of luck called Bale Tough. This net wrap is actually made with an entirely different manufacturing process. It is made with a far thicker, far tougher, far stiffer plastic process. It actually goes through a cast film type of manufacturing. What's the benefit of that? You're going to have more material. It's going to hold up through tough conditions. You have something like corn stalks where, you got more sharper edges on your corn.
Yes.
It's not going to cut or tear that as well. Also, whenever it's coming out of the baler, it's getting cut out of the baler, you get a clean cut. It's not elastic. So it's springing around the rollers. You should never have the problem with that one. With that being said, It's not going to have a tremendous amount of expansion capacity.
Okay.
So all a person would need to know is if they're doing bale tough, and I am going to go use wheat straw, guys, it's not complicated. Put an extra wrap on it. Put one extra wrap on it, and then that thing is still going to perform just fine. But with that being said, that's where like strength and quality often comes from. Number one, if it's a thinner net wrap, it's going to be elastic. You can get a thicker net wrap. And then we even have some lines that are right there in between. There are some net wraps that I call low bottom quality. I'm not going to throw the names out there of my competitors, but I kind of want to. But some of the ways that you can do that is once that bale has popped out. So a net wrap bale is going to be held together with two different strands of plastic. If you know knitting, that's really what net wrap is. It's the same technology of a knitted sweater. But there's the warp strands and then there's the weft strands. All those weft strands going in between, they are just holding the warp strands in place. Right. So your strength of that hay bale really comes in how well does your warp strands hold and support the bale. If that thing pops out and you go to a warp strand, pull one of them, and if that thing snaps like this, yeah, you got a cheap net wrap. Those are absolutely out there. But
so the actual pull strength of it, if you get quite a bit.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
There are a couple, and there are some Europeans, but they're the ones out there that are the cheapest of cheap. Race to the bottom of the barrel. But you can go out there, pull on those warp strands, 1-2 strands, and it just pops. We have some videos of some of our net wrap, bale tough, agrite that you're literally grabbing with your full fist. You are tugging on, and that bad boy's not breaking. That's when you've got a net wrap that should support your bale, hopefully several months, even years if you need. So that is one of the things that we've done as well. We know all the top manufacturers. We've got partnerships with all of them. But the number one thing we do, they know I'm a fourth generation representing my family name and my business.
Yes.
The last thing I'm going to do, I don't want your cheapest product.
Right.
I need your best quality product. But if you want to grow in the USA market, I still need it at a great price. That way we all can be competitive. And at the end of the day, that farmer isn't getting his prices jacked up. That's one of the goals as well.
And I think of it in the aspect of, when we talk about cheap products, it's also more labor intensive a lot of times when it comes to having to fight that. When we talk about it rolling, it's on that roller and then now you got to go fight it and try to get it off there. I think there's definitely a parallel for quality and pricing. When you're paying a lot less in price, then your quality is going to be a lot less as well. And I think there's definitely, you get what you pay for. Yeah, 100%, just like anything else. And, I know that we want to spend the least amount, for our bales, but at the same time, when I talk about time itself, how much fight do you want to have to get that field up? The
reality, agriculture and hay baling, those are not 9-to-5 jobs.
No.
When you are harvesting,
yes.
When you're working those long, not miserable, but those long sun up to sundown days, and you have breakdowns, you have issues. Like, what is that cost?
Right.
And that's where it's just like, guys, here's what my belief in what I would encourage anyone to do. Be super careful if anyone is ever giving you the fire sales, or you're just out there doing everything you can to penny pinch. And I can tell you right now for net wrap, I know those products, don't touch them with the 10-foot pole. With that being said, I think one of the things that people are getting wiser and wiser, and this is where I know the heart of your guys' business, you can also go and pay a pretty penny at a place because they're really good at marketing, because they have a brand name that might have a picture of a certain deer. So they're going to charge you an arm and a leg.
Yes.
And I think all of us have lost enough money. I'm not saying that they're bad or they're wrong. This is not a moral challenge to those businesses. They've been stable marks of agriculture for, dear Lord, generations. But if they're taking so much of that, any chance of profitability you got at the end of the year, hey, let's go find maybe some other options. Let's find some dealers like Feeders Green that got the same heart of ag, and they're going to go about to take care of you. And they take great value in quality products. That to me is what I want to encourage agricultural people to bring to what they're shopping, especially in the hay baling industry.
Oh, 100%. Now, do you see any challenges? Because obviously it's evolved. You've seen NetWrap evolve over the years. And do you see some, I guess, downsides for some of these guys that went from using twine or sessile to now using NetWrap? Is there a gap there from the way that we handled that prior to how we handle things in NetWrap?
I will say if I'm going to be at a farm show and talk to 1,000 farmers, obviously you're going to find a few of them that think NetWrap is of the devil. And that's fine. I don't want to say anything is right or wrong, but I mean, the amount of time it takes to bale a field where I'm using twine and that thing's, dear Lord, 15, 20 rotations in the bale compared to NetWrap, 2.5, 3.5 corn stalks, maybe 4.5, 5.
Sure.
Like I'm just baling a field in a fifth or a third of the time. So my question would be, why wouldn't you want to do that? And then find something else. And if you can't find something on your farm that you need to be doing, heck, go find something to go spend time with your family, your kids. But outside of that, so number one is going to be time. Number two, the amount that you are actually protecting the bale. If you ever drive by a field and you see one field full of NetWrap bales, the other full of twine field, it does not take rocket science. One is wasting a large amount of the hay. Now, the other thing that NetWrap brings that even people don't, outside of the hay that's just flying off, the protection of what NetWrap brings, especially if you will put 3.5 wraps on it. You put 3.5, 4 wraps on, you're doing water shit. I'm not saying same as putting it under a barn, but like the overall protection of the bale and then the quality degradation that once you put NetWrap on it on that outer 10%, well, that outer 10%, it's a circle, guys. Like that outer 10 to 15% to protect, that is a massive percentage of the amount of hay that's in the hay bale. So from quality to not having loss and then just time. Yes, maybe you're spending more money, but if you actually count all the costs, you're not. NetWrap's the way to go. It just is.
And the longevity of the bale itself, if you have a super good year and you have a lot of carryover, when you look at what NetWrap does, when we talk about that protection part of it, you can still pick that bale up and it's not going to fall apart, versus when you're using some sort of sessile or something of that sort that, you do see that kind of degrade when you don't have it stored in some sort of building. Yeah.
When you gave a great example of a good year, you have a good year, you got a lot of hay you needed to last.
Right.
What if you have a bad year?
Yep.
You have a bad year. Now it's even more important, or heck, even the value of that hay. We've all had a year where the value of hay got terrifying.
Right.
You need NetWrap to handle each one of those extremes.
It's true. Now, from the aspect of the finished product, when we discuss that part of it, I do have some farmers that tend to challenge me in the aspect of, hey, I think we can keep the NetWrap on and we'll just cut it down a little bit. But have you seen some issues on your end where people have fed NetWrap still essentially on the bale or close to being on the bale and had issues with their livestock in that aspect?
I want to make sure I'm answering your question there. When you say cut it down a little bit, are you help me understand what you mean by that?
So when they put it in the bale ring itself, and they just cut it like part of the way down, and so that it doesn't completely open up the whole bale. So that because they feel like it's going to waste if they cut it all the way down.
Yeah. So once again, everything is factoring risk, reward, time. Mm-hmm. I am sure that it might take a little more time to pull the NetWrap off. Maybe there's a little bit of waste. But you asked a question, what happens if the cows are eating that plastic? Oh, I could give you horror stories.
Yeah.
The cows, I'm not going to try to do the science or the veterinarian explanation of how it can get caught in their 4 stomachs, but no, don't let the cattle eat NetWrap. Don't let them eat plastic baling twine.
The biggest thing for me that I continually say is that it is not a biodegradable product.
Absolutely.
And it is a polyplastic type of product that is made to secure a bale, not necessarily to pass on to a livestock setting. So
Yes.
it is made to be taken off before feeding.
When God designed it is a coward human. God did not design our systems to eat and digest plastic. That is not the design.
Right.
It will cause massive problems. And you brought up a great thing that just let me bring up some things that I've heard in the industry. The amount of times that people are like, oh, if you would just create a biodegradable net wrap. I agree. Then we would be multi-millionaires and it'd be great. Here's the problem. There is a biodegradable product, sisal. Some people call it either way.
Yes.
Yeah, you can bale it with sisal, feed it, they eat it, life is good. What's the problem? That bale is not going to last. It's not going to do the test of time. So to bring a net wrap product that will do that, now what you're having to sacrifice is the ability of this bale is going to last 18 months. And then the moment you present that, they're like, oh, well, I don't want that. Well, you can't have a natural product and then put it out there in nature with the weather and the sun and expect it to last several years unless it's plastic. Now, I'm not going to say that something doesn't get invented at some point. I actually know there are companies that are trying, but there is not a biodegradable net wrap, and there really is not anything in sight. And I travel all around the world to see all the things that's going on in this industry.
Right.
There is literally nothing. Now, I've heard people say, oh no, my plastic twine is biodegradable. And what it is it's solar degradable.
Okay.
So what that means is every plastic twine and net wrap, they put this chemical, simple, we'll just call it UV stabilizer.
Okay.
So it is a stabilizer in the plastic to resist the sun from eating the plastic. So anytime you ever see something that is solar degradable, and they might even charge you more for it, which is actually, I can name you the companies that charge you more for solar degradable. They actually make the product cheaper than regular because now they get to save the money of that chemical. But all that is they just took the UV stabilizer out. It's not rocket science. If you're paying more for solar degradable twine, I'm sorry, just letting you know someone's doing marketing. But with that being said, all that means is the product is going to break down faster. And that just depends how much plastic is in it and what's the overall plastic formula. You can get solar degradable twines somewhere in 8 to 12 months are breaking down. Sometimes it's 12 to 18 months, just kind of depends what they do there. But there is no such thing as a biodegradable net wrap. There is no such thing as a biodegradable plastic twine. I wish there was. If I come up with it, you guys will be the first to know.
Definitely. Do you still see in your industry, as you're selling to people like me, do you see a lot of sisal still going out, or are you just kind of slowly seeing that trend off?
It's definitely trending down, but it's just one of whereas I'm in this hay baling, net wrap baling twine industry. I grew up in this. And I remember growing up talking to my dad and grandpa and trying to figure out why does this region and this region use this product?
Sure.
And I know sometimes there's underliers. I don't think there's a mathematical formula, Erica. I mean, you will have this 100-mile radius. They are 4-foot country, but they want edge to edge. 100-mile away, it's 5 foot and they want cover edge. And we have never figured it out. But I will say, there are definitely territories. There's southern territories, southeast territories, Tennessee and Kentucky. Oh, yeah, it's still sisal. I don't want to call it sisal country because it's still on the decline. But there is 10 times. I'm comfortably saying there are 10 times the amount of sisal and sisal in those territories compared to Iowa, Dakotas, Missouri even. But yeah,
is that the difference between having the small bales versus the big rounds? Do you think that's probably the difference
it's
there?
going to be much more small square country.
Yeah.
Much more small square country, not as much round bales. So yeah.
And that's where I see it at, is more in the small bales is where I'm seeing people still use it. Every once in a while, I have 2 customers that come in and they still use some wire. That's... You still have those guys and they like it. That's what they use. And that's what their old baler uses, and that's the other thing I'm sure you have seen over the years is the technology in the balers then kind of dictating what you guys are selling from all of your different wraps that you have, whether it's, twine or net wrap itself.
Well, that's I can brag on Tama. I've got to know them very, very well. Their facilities is just off the charts amazing. But the amount of R&D that they put into their product, it's incredible. They should have a right to brag. But it's so important to find manufacturers that believe in continuing their product, because there is not all these baler manufacturers, and then all the net wrap manufacturers, they're not. Well, no, they have partnerships. They talk, they communicate. I don't want to say that.
Yeah.
But these balers are putting more pressure. These balers are going faster. They're constantly trying to, how do we get heavier bales? How do we get tighter bales? Well, to me, the net wrap manufacturers that are producing lower quality net wrap, I've been able to see them through these years. They are not developing their product. And you see that, but it's going to continue to create more problems because all these guys with the balers, they're pushing the envelope. If you have a net wrap manufacturer that is not investing in that, then that has shown us those are people that we massively went away from to find the people that you see them. They're wanting their product to be dominant, top of the line for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. That's who we really focus on our partnerships with.
Perfect. And then when we've been talking about net wrap and twine, but obviously you have things related to bags, whether it's silage or grain bags themselves and in tarps. Can you tell me about some of the products that you have that way and what you offer and what you're seeing in the industry? Because I feel like that industry, I see a lot more being used for grain side of things. Yep. Just instead of taking it to the local co-op, they would rather just keep it on site, but they don't necessarily want to put up another bin.
Yep. Great question, Erica. What I would start by even saying that the technology, the R&D, the research and development that has went into the bag world and definitely the silage wrap world, it's been very revolutionary over the last, I'm going to say 12, 15, could maybe say 17 with some of the larger manufacturers. And a little bit of just the trend that even I've seen over the last decade is the couple USA manufacturers, they had some brand names. They did good marketing. They might have partnered with a company that has a picture of a green deer on all their stuff, but they didn't invest in R&D a lot early on. And there were several years that a product with the name Sun in it might have had some issues. And if you learn the technology of a monolayer or a single layer film versus a 3-layer versus a 5-layer, there's so much more in consistency, in performance, improvement through each one of those. European manufacturers were the ones that pushed the R&D envelope. So one of the things when I first stepped in, I found the top manufacturers in Europe and I flew over and met them and greeted them. And really, once again, got to learn the product inside and out. What is the difference between a 3-layer and a 5-layer? And we were one of the people that we still sold the USA made product. We were thankful and proud of it, but we wanted to bring in some of those in European as well. The cool thing is this, I can brag on the American Sun Film product now that they have brought in some of those technologies. But we've also found some other great manufacturers that have 5-layer, 7-layer technology, and we've got them at some really aggressive price points. So that is where, and once again, I could list 3 manufacturers that are still bragging on a monolayer. Now, let me do this. One of the trends in the industry, and if I make somebody mad, feel free to send me a message. You can go look me up on Jones Twine, Facebook, LinkedIn, find me wherever. But there is a trend that happened over the last 7 to 15 years that as European manufacturers started making some 5-layer, 7-layer, stronger, more consistent, higher performing products, the US and some of their manufacturers, instead of R&D and investing in better technology, they went from a 1 mil, which is thickness. It's not a layer.
Right.
They went from a 1 mil to a 1.2 mil, but you lose footage. Well, we're still having issues. We go to a 1.5 mil, then we lose more footage, but we're actually charging you the same price for a 1 mil, 1.2, and a 1.5, but you're getting footage. So if you can get a high quality product, that is a 1 mil, 5-layer product, you should not have to do the 1.2 and the 1.5. And then you're going to get that full 5,000 feet of use of your product. And one of the reasons where that 1.2 and that 1.5 happened is because a lot of those American manufacturers didn't have the European technology. So they just produced thicker, and they pushed it. And now there are still a lot of people that they want the 1.2. They want the 1.5 mil. I'm not saying you're wrong, but at the end of the day, you're losing footage. And if you get a high quality 1 mil, you should not need to lose that footage, aka losing the profitability or the higher expenses on your bale.
Well, and it's definitely about that component made and what it's made of. So whatever it takes to make that to put on the outside. So one thing that I did for over a decade is I was in manufacturing and I dealt with packaging material. And I definitely understand the fact that the thicker it is, it doesn't mean it's better product. And it doesn't mean that it's going to withstand whatever you're going to do to it. So those are some of the things, that people don't necessarily know in the background of how those things work, but you have to think about how they're processing those products and how they're going to withstand. And when you talk about R&D, to ensure that they are R&Ding stuff to make sure it fits the climate, the overall, what's going to happen to it. R&Ding in an office setting is not going to show you what it does at a farmer's location. So I'm sure you guys look at that stuff and ensure that, hey, they're legitimately doing R&D testing in the right areas to ensure that, myself, when I buy things from you, that my customers are going to be happy as well.
Yeah, 100%. Well, that's when you don't have the right manufacturers, when they're not putting in that over and above care, research and development to make sure their product is continuing to be the best, it is sometimes scary. And if you're from the manufacturing world, I know you get this as well, Erica, how all of a sudden they have an inferior product, but they come out with a marketing pitch that sure makes it sound good.
Yes.
But then if you actually know what you know, it's like, that's not improved. It's like there's a silage wrap manufacturer that just over the last couple of years, they finally put in their first line of 5-layer. Finally, they've always been a mono-layer and a 3-layer. By golly, their product is sticky. Their silage wrap has tack galore. And they just bragged on that thing being the best silage wrap out there. And it's like, now that's the opposite. You don't want a super sticky silage wrap. You want a consistent stick on your silage wrap. With 5-layer, that's what it brings. A 5-layer gives you the ability to change with more precision each layer. So you can put the tack on the inner layer. You can put more UV stabilizer on the outer layer. That's what the 5-layer does that the 3-layer doesn't. But yeah, no, I've got a huge competitor out there that they sure think their silage wrap is special because it's sticky. And it's like, well, have fun when it builds up on the rollers and doesn't perform as good as the other 5-layers, but they got a great marketing pitch.
Now, do you see anything on the bag side of the world? I've had some guys come and ask me about there's product out there that's supposed to deter any kind of pests, because obviously you get those issues when you put grain or silage in a bag out in the middle of a field, right? And they're like, well, I think this is going to work. Do you guys have anything like that? What have you seen when looking at, I'm sure you've heard of this product out there.
Yes. So let me be very, very clear. I want to go over and above to tell you where I know that I'm an expert and where I'm not. All I can tell you on the bags, what the manufacturers have told me. Now I'm going to put this filter up.
Yep.
They're the competitors of that product that says, hey, because we put this on our bags, it is going to repel all animals, vermin trying to get in there.
Right.
Here is what their competitor was said. They said the chemicals they use for that is something we could easily put on ours. They said that it is absolutely going to increase it. But here's what all of our studies show. It actually does not repel until they have actually bit the hole or clawed the hole until it gets on their face.
That penetration actually happens of the bag itself.
That is when it causes them to repel. Well, that's great technology. What's the problem with that? Guess what problem you still have?
You do not want a hole in the bag. Yes.
So that's what the competitors said. And once again, anyone that's listening to this, this is not an area that I am a total expert. I'm just telling you what the manufacturers have said.
Right.
They can do it too through their research and their tests and their studies. By the time you're actually repelling the animal, you're already too late. The hole is already there. They didn't want to build a product that at the end of the day, they're going to charge the farmer more and they're going to waste the farmer's money. But in marketing, when it's out there, you can almost, I don't want to say smell it, but you can tell sometimes that there's a residue on it.
Right. Yeah.
But the thing is that testing, is that scientific testing actually causing to repel the animals, or is it just after they put the hole in it?
And my thing with newer product, and I'm sure you're the same way that I am, is that you kind of want to see what happens with it, right? So you don't necessarily want to be the first person to be like, yeah, I'm going to take this. And then there's no studies or research to truly back it up. And that's what I tell guys is, if they come in here and I reach out to your group and you don't have it, and I'm looking at it a little bit more going, well, there isn't a whole lot of information to truly back it up, but it's going to cost you a lot more. And we both know that cost of product is a big factor. I mean, that's why we've discussed it here in the aspect of NetWrap. And, what you get is what you pay for. Well, in some aspects, you get extra that isn't necessarily going to have the return for what you paid for it as well. So, I mean, there's a fine line on things. And that's why I'm sure you and I both want to help farmers in that aspect. And I don't want you to waste your money, but at the same time, when there is a quality product out there, it's worth your money and be able to help them navigate, because there is so much. There's so much static. There's so much ability for people to put out a good ad to, really get the marketability. And I came from a big corporate world, so I understand what those little ticks are that they put on things to get people to buy products. And so that's why I become a little bit more hesitant and want to do the research before saying, hey, I'm going to buy this. We're going to push this product, because again, you're putting your name on the line. I own this business just the same as you have yours. And we're not a big corporation. We are here as small business owners to help the farmer and guide them in whatever is going to suit their needs for their farm, but yet not waste their money.
And that what you just said, Erica, that's how we view who we partner with as manufacturers of these products. We're blessed to have connections with all of them. But if one company that's not even the top of the line or the most global recognized is saying, oh, we have this new product, and then I can talk to multiple other top manufacturers and ask the question, hey guys, what is this? And they're like, oh yeah, we can do that. That's not special. That's not that hard to do, but you're not going to get value for it. And that Repel product, this has been out for a decade. This is not it's not like, oh my gosh, we just came up with this year. No, this is not like, this is literally a chemical that's getting sprayed on it. And it's, but no one else is catching it. Now, I want to do one other marketing thing to be aware. If anyone is ever saying, look at the awards or the rewards that we've won, there are all sorts of rewards that are given in the European market for less plastic, or like there's all sorts of these things that are getting rewards in the European market. That doesn't mean that it's actually producing a better product, better silage, anything along those lines. You can win a reward in Europe just because you have a good marketing pitch and something that we think is helping the environment. So I know there is a company out there that is like, oh, look at these awards we won. If you actually look at what the awards are, you're winning a whole bunch of European and some of their mindset awards, not necessarily better yield, better ROI, better performance for the farmer.
Right.
So you got to be somewhat careful whenever you're seeing those as well.
Yeah, again, that there's some marketing out there that people have to watch out for. And I feel like what you do and what you're an expert at is looking at those type of products, ensuring that it is right, and also helping me in that aspect so that I can pass it along to the customer and say, hey, this is why we're picking this versus something else, and it's big and there is a lot. How many different brands or different types of net wrap do you have that you're distributing yourself, would you say?
So access to and actually distributing would be two very different questions.
Right.
So
That's what I mean. So there is a huge factor for you. Yeah.
So easy answer. Well, it's not an easy answer. I'll try to go. So number one, we've had a tremendous amount of luck with the Bale Tough product. To have a field that you can walk out and it looks like the red, white, and blue USA flag over is just one of the coolest things ever. So that has been a huge flagship product for us. Super heavy duty, super tough. We also got a great product called Agrite Net Wrap. To us, it's kind of that sweet middle spot that gives you the best of both worlds. You get the elasticity, but is also heavier than most of your other net wraps. Not quite as heavy as Bale Tough, but it's heavier than most. So you still got a great opportunity there. Both of those, we've got those priced in a very good level. We also have access to everything that is in the Tama Net Wrap range and the Tama products. Now, Tama has what they call tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Tier 1 is going to be the same product or almost identical product as John Deere, but the John Deere Net Wrap, the Kubota Net Wrap, Tama Blue Zebra, or a product called Bryden Max, that's what we push. They're really all the same. I mean, the differences are super, super minuscule, but that's really the Cadillac of that. They have a tier 2 called Integra. We've had great luck in Integra. We've been selling Integra since Net Wrap came out. Well, we sold it since they did come out with a name change like 18 years ago, but that product and that formula we've had great luck with. Then they have tier 3 called a Magnet. If you would ever get a price point at New Holland or Case IH, theirs is called Bale Keeper. So we've got 3 product lines there. And we've got a lot of partnerships with some New Hollands and Case IHs. And anyway, so with that being said, the Tama has those offering. Agrite Bale Tough are our top ones. We do have a product that's available called Agrite Ultimate. It is a product that's designed identical or exactly like the Vermeer. If anyone ever wants the wide mesh, that's a product that we have as an option. What's the benefit of that? I'll talk super quick. If everyone's like, oh my gosh, I love Vermeer Net Wrap, they might think Vermeer Net Wrap is strong. It's a great net wrap, so I don't mean this to be negative, but they might think Vermeer Net Wrap is stronger. But what they've done is it's half the warp strands. So those strands that go around the bale, however many chains you have, it is now half of them. But what most companies do on the warp strands is it's actually 3 plastic threads that are spun together. That's all that is. It's 3 small plastic threads spun around as the warp strand. What Vermeer did is you have half the amount of strands or chains, but it's 6. So it's just twice the thickness. But so it's actually the same amount of plastic, but it's distributed differently.
Oh, okay.
If you just love that wide mesh or that super thick warp strand, we have that too. It's not hard. It's just, you're going to get less watershed, but a tougher warp strand. Both great products. Outside of that, that's really what we have found is our favorite net wrap home run products. We have we have a partnership with the second largest manufacturer in the world, Net Wrap. They make good products. We've had a little better luck with these others, but we got certain farmers that, I don't know if do you feel that farmers love change? I feel like farmers don't love change.
That's a funny joke. Yeah. No, they definitely do not like the change. Yeah.
So we've had some farmers, that was the product they loved, and it works great for their baler. Awesome. So we have access to that. The original creators of Net Wrap is a company out of Germany. We've got a great partnership with them as well. So that's where, like I said, we have access to all the top net wraps in the world. And if you do business with us, Eric, as you do, you've got access to them as well. So we can partner with any farmer out there that wants this net wrap or this net wrap. But we definitely have ours that we've seen with the quality, the service, the performance, and the price. We've definitely got some that we've had a lot of luck with. Bale Tough, Agrite, and we do have great luck with the Tama products as well.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I'm so thankful when taking over this business that I could partner with you guys when it comes to all of these products, because obviously it's an overwhelming amount of products that you have, and you're just rattling off NetWrap, right?
I know.
So coming into this, I knew a few, but if you're not in the business of selling exclusively NetWrap and twine, then it gets a little cumbersome. So you guys have been fabulous to deal with in that aspect, because I can ask those questions and make sure, again, that I'm getting the right product for people and not getting a sales pitch from somebody, because that's just what they do. They're all about hitting those sales numbers. You guys care and want to make sure that, myself as a small business is successful and will continue to work with you guys. So that's the wonderful part of your business. And the fact that you came on today and had a discussion with me is even, it just shows your ability, the whole family organization that you've created through your business and that's wonderful. As a CEO, you're coming on and talking to me. That says a lot. That says a lot that you are definitely there for the farmers and want to help people like myself in continuing to support and be able to sell quality product to people.
Growing up, my grandpa had this phrase. We actually taken this phrase, and this is one of our company core values. My grandpa would say, anyone can make a customer for a day, but our goal is to make a customer for life. Everyone, especially in agriculture, you have had somebody try to make you a customer for a day. They gave you a pitch, they gave you a marketing something, they oversold something, but then they did not follow through on all the things that it takes to make a customer for life. And to do that, you just go over and above and you take care of the people that you work with. You do what you say, you stand behind every product that comes out. And Erica, there's the reason we've been doing business with Feeders Grain. Oh my gosh. 30. I should have looked up the exact amount. I guarantee we've been doing business together. It has to be at least 30 years, at least, and maybe longer than that. But that is our heart. That goes all the way back to my grandfather. Anyone can make a customer for a day, but our goal is to make a customer for life.
That's awesome. That's wonderful. And I appreciate you coming on today and having a discussion. I'm sure there'll be other things that will come up from this and we'll have to talk again and have some more discussion. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for visiting at the Feed Store Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube so you never miss an episode. Follow us online and check out our full lineup of products on feedersgrain.com. See you next time.